Hi, my name is Jonathan Hicks. I'm back at the Dice Cup, and this evening I'm joined by
Mark and Simon.
And we've just finished playing Rise of Tribes, which is a kind of light civ building game. You can see we've got lots of meeples all over the board here, and the objective of the game is to sort of grow your tribe, expand across the network, harvest resources. You've got fish and wood and stone, and ultimately be the first tribe to get to 15 victory points. That's what it's all about, really. It's like a race, so as soon as somebody gets to 15, the game just ends. How you actually play the game is on your turn you take 2 dice and you roll them, and depending on what you get, you then can take 2 out of the 4 different actions here. So you could grow your tribe. So let's say I decided to add the sun here. You slot it on the left and it pushes this one off, so the next player will get to use that one. And whatever's left, it lets you take a certain action. So the basic grow would mean you'd add 3 meeples. So you take 3 meeples from your supply and add it onto one of the hexes. But if you have either 2 moons or 2 suns in any kind of combination here, then you get either a better version, so if it's 2 suns, you get 4 meeples, or a worse version, if it's 2 moons, you're only getting to put 2 meeples on. So how strong the action is varies depending on the combination of dice that's there after you've put your dice on. So grow lets you add your meeples, then move, if you sort of slid this on here, that would pop off. So now there isn't a double, because I popped the moon off, so I get to move 4 meeples, and it's like 4 meeples can move 1 space. So this one could go here, this one can go here, maybe I can move another one over here. In fact, let's move them all in, we'll have a fight. I'll show you how fighting works. And then the other actions are gathering. So this lets you basically harvest resources off tiles. So the basic one is on 2 different tiles, you'd harvest 2 resources. So I'm on this sort of mountain tile and the river tile, so I could take 2 fish, 2 stone, for example. And the final kind of action is lead, which basically means you're drawing cards. You have a deck and you're drawing cards, and they could be like technologies. You sort of pay the resources at the bottom, you get a bit of victory points and some special ability. So this means when I'm gathering, I get an extra resource for every hex I gather off. That's handy. These are my kind of in-progress ones, and when you complete them they go over here, so you can see which technology you've got as you go through the game. Or they might be goal cards, which are typically worth quite a few more victory points. In this case I had to get all 20 of my tribe members on the board. Other ones might be connecting 5 different hexes, like having a majority in those, getting a certain number of resources, that kind of thing. But then after you've taken your actions, you resolve conflicts. If any tile has more than 5 meeples on, they have a fight, which is very straightforward. You remove 1 meeple of each tribe from it, and then you check, is there more than 5? If there is, you do it again. You just keep going until there's 5 or fewer. So in this case, you'd end up like that. So you sort of have a fight each time potentially, and then at the end of your turn you can try and complete your goals. One other thing you can do though is build a village. If I can show you this, there's a certain amount of requirements to build a village, so I needed 4 stone, a wood and a fish, although interestingly different tribes need different kinds of resources, and you spend it and you stick a village on here. And the main thing a village does is at the start of your turn you get 1 point for every village you've got on the map. So I managed to have 3 here, so I was getting 3 points every turn, which for a game that's raced to 15 points, that's pretty significant. So you run around taking your actions, scoring your points for your villages, trying to sort of have combat to knock out other people from the tiles, and first to 15 wins. What do we think?
Yeah, it's very neat. If you played maybe a few games, it's light enough to be your first area control game, because it's not, I wouldn't say anything particularly complex. You usually have to look at the event cards that come up. They've changed the rules slightly, but you can take them in as they come out. The variable player powers make it kind of interesting. They do make a genuine difference to the tribes. They give you a special ability which you need to use to optimise. The main thing to take it is just so light, and it works fine in that sort of in control way. The biggest negative is that it's dice rolling, and ultimately you can just roll badly, and you can be done that by it. There's nothing you can do about that. The fact that the rotation of the dice is quite cool, so you're going, please don't put that there because I really want to make sure that I can do a better action. But if you keep moving the suns off, that's going to annoy you. So not only the control, like competition for the spaces, but on the actual dice board is quite fun too. But yeah, the main thing is light, and it kind of does what it set out to do, which is be a light area control game.
Okay. Simon?
I really like this game because it's very much one of those games where you have your own objectives and you have your own goals, and you can set out and basically play a game where you're trying to get your resources down, get your points down, score your goals. But at the same time, the board is a good enough size and the goals are just enough asking you to stretch out that it starts to cause friction with other players. It reminds me very much of games like Ticket to Ride, where everyone has their own goals and their own missions and their own strategies to complete them, but the very act of going out to complete those missions causes you to naturally rub shoulders with other players, causes some conflicts, causes some debates around the table. Before I knew it, the play area was just full of meeples. At one point, I looked at it, saw that, didn't think there were much meeples down there, and at one point we had to check, look for the most unoccupied hex, and I looked and there was just meeples everywhere. So it really does show that it's a game where everyone has their own objectives at the start, and everyone can do their own thing, but eventually people will start to bash heads with one another. And you can either go out there and start causing havoc, or you can do what I did, was hide in a corner and desperately try to hoard as many resources as you can and just hope nobody attacks you. Really did like that. Also really liked the random elements that came in, like the events and also the dice rolling, which meant that it wasn't just a case of doing quote-unquote the best play every time, because you have all these random elements like, do I do the best move with the dice, but then give the next player a guaranteed best move because you've just loaded the queue with suns, and if you do that, then basically all the rest of the table get a free gain from that. So it's all very much about what you're trying to do, but at the same time trying to mess with other people as much as possible. So I really did like this game a lot, yeah.
Okay. Well, perhaps just mention the events. If anyone rolls a double, you draw an event out here. And as they mentioned, this can kind of change the game in various ways. So you can have invaders who might crop up, or a way of getting extra cards, or possibly getting extra moves and resources and things. So they're quite nice. Rating out of 10?
Definitely give this an 8 out of 10. It was very good, very engaging, very easy to play, and I can definitely see this being a game that you would bring out again and again when friends are over, for sure.
Mark?
For me, I like it. I'm not sure I'd want to play it a ton more, so I'd give it about 6.5.
Okay. Yeah, I think they summarised it very well. I think for an entry-level sort of Euro area control, it works really well. There's a nice amount of engine building there. It doesn't take too long. I played it with a few different player accounts. I think it works best with 4 actually, because as Simon was saying, the board becomes quite congested quite quickly, which is actually nice. It's what you want, because you then are really competing for the different areas. I found with fewer players, the boards, even though there are less hexes, it felt like there was a lot more space and it was a bit easier. But it's a lot of fun. I like the variability with the events and the different sort of technology cards that you're coming out. You can adapt your strategy according to the cards that come out. And it's one of these where your points build. So to start with, you're kind of getting 1, maybe 2 points here and there. But then towards the end, there's kind of a big push and everyone's getting like 5 or 6 points in the turn. So it's quite tense, the rush for the finish. I really like that. So for what it does, I think it does very well. I'd be on an 8 out of 10. All right, thanks for watching. I think that was Rise of Tribes.